Hi, I'm John Arana, and this is Karina San Martin.
What's up, guys?
And we are here at the Drop.
At the Drop.
And we're dropping
And
truth.
you're here too.
And you're here too. And by the way, thank you.
Yes.
And so we're dropping truth
Bringing life.
Bringing life. Yeah. And we hope that today it encourages you. We're talking about love matters the most. Mm-hmm. And then we started in the last episode talking about the fact that love changes lives.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about the fact that when you love someone, you will do anything to recover that relationship.
Yeah.
And you will go out of your way. And so today we hope to get to the other three.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to finish this. But three actions that love takes in order to be able to express love, and that will change people's lives.
Yes,
So
yeah,
what do you
definitely.
think? What do you think?
Yeah, no, we talked last week. We talked a lot about how love recovers a loss, which you already said. And then the next one today is that love refreshes to heal the hurt. And I was thinking about how all this has fleshed out in my life in many ways. Through many relationships. And but I remember with my best friend. I have a couple best friends, my husband, my sister, but then I have, my best girlfriend, and it's Rebecca, and we met each other in 8th grade, so we've known each other for a really long time. And we just cool. our hearts and our spirits just really took to each other almost immediately, And so over the years, we've just had our friendship building and things like that. And I remember at one point, and it's okay for me to share this because we've already talked about it in person. But I remember,
so it's public knowledge.
Yeah, so if she's listening, it's totally cool. But I remember at one point we just kind of stopped talking. We just got distant, and we had got married, we started having kids, and life just kind of got busier, but it got harder for us to be intentional with connecting.
Yeah.
And I was the big pursuer. My personality type is the more of the seeker, and and she's naturally not like that. She doesn't really like phone calls. She wants to connect in person, and which I totally get.
Sure.
So, anyways, long story short, I just kind of was like, it's fine, whatever. I'm just gonna not pursue. Made that little thing, and so just because life was busy, we didn't connect for a couple of years, I think, and then but I really missed her, and so I started praying about it, and the Lord kind of told me like, well, you were wrong for what you did, because it's not her fault that she's not naturally good at that.
Exactly.
And you're almost like punishing her because you're good at that.
Yeah, interesting.
And so the Lord really, convicted me of that, but also ministered to my heart, showing me also that in my relationships that's something I bring to the table.
That's good.
That's a part of who I am.
Right.
And for me to not operate in that, it will only do damage.
And blame somebody else for not operating that way.
Right, exactly.
Because they're not that way.
Right, exactly. And
that's good.
So I reached out to her, and I kind of talked to her about what I was going through, and she told me, she was like, and that's when she told me, she was like, I'm really not good at being the pursuer. And so she told me like, I'm sorry that I haven't done that for you. And she was like, even though I know I'm not good at it, I do need to work on that. And so the point being that because I let love operate, it brought us to a place of healing, and it brought us to an even better place that we could talk more openly about, what we really feel and what we're really thinking. And, here we are, she's got 4 kids, I got 3 kids, and we just make it happen, and we've told each other, no matter what, we have to make that a priority because we do love each other, And it's work, it's work to have those hard conversations, but when you do let love operate, especially when there's
to another level.
Been hurt, it takes that relationship to a whole new place, and that's the whole purpose of love.
That's it.
Refreshing to heal the hurt.
And that's a great example because the John 3:16 and 17, my favorite scripture in the whole Bible, but it says that for God so loved the world that it gave his only son, so whoever would believe in him should not perish but have an everlasting life. And so I always teach that the evidence of love is
Yeah.
giving.
Right. Yep.
Give your time, your talent, and your treasure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I also teach that the purpose of love
Yes.
is to save.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And you know, when you get married or you have a best friend, you know, and you're like committed to loving that person.
Right.
But then you start realizing eventually that there's some things about that person that just irritates you.
Yeah, of course.
You know, they
Yeah.
just rub you the wrong
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
You know, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
and you're going like, man, or you say we're so different, and it's just like we just
Yeah.
don't match and
Yeah.
whatever. And but hey, what's the purpose of love?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
to save.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
to rescue each other from those things
Yeah.
that tend to destroy us and
Yes.
hurt us.
Yes.
You know, and so
100%.
your example is a perfect example because you know you are wired certain way, she was wired certain other way,
Mm-hmm.
and those two things came into conflict.
Right.
But what's the purpose of love? It's to
Exactly.
save us from that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
not punish each other for being different,
Right.
but to help us blend it and make it a
Yes,
complement and
yes.
complete each other.
Yes.
You
Oh
know?
my gosh. Yes.
And so that's why love refreshes
Yeah.
and brings healing.
to heal. Oh,
Because
man,
it,
yeah.
it helps us to realize, hey, why am I going to criticize this person for
Yeah.
being different than me?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
when in reality, maybe deep down in your heart, that was an attraction.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that we look at. Like I look
Yeah.
at my wife, Karen,
Yeah.
and I see things in her that I'm totally attracted to, but then
Yes.
they also irritate me.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she's total social bug,
Yeah.
total
Yes.
conversationalist.
Yes.
You know, she'll talk to anybody.
She will talk. It embarrasses me sometimes. Still, I'm old and like older. And like she'll talk to people in the elevator,
Right,
Like
right.
and like complete straight. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like and 'cause in my head, I'm thinking, what if it gets weird? Like, what if it goes weird? You know, and we're just stuck in this elevator with this person. But she does not care.
She doesn't care.
And
She
I
doesn't
love that
care.
about her.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm not like that.
But you know, love seeks
Yeah.
and focuses on meeting the need of the other person.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's really good,
imagine
yeah.
if we're both doing that, then
Yeah.
nobody's gonna go without their needs being met.
Yeah, and I think that when I see this begin to operate in my relationships, you know, that are close to me, it always helps me to ask myself, you know, what's the goal here?
Yeah.
You know, because like in a couple episodes ago, we talked about how love is not selfish.
Oh, yeah, that's
you know,
right.
and I think that that's like one of the biggest suckers of love. So if you could
Yeah,
say
sure.
selfishness, you know, because when hurt has come about in
Yeah.
a relationship,
Yeah.
you know, there has to be someone, if not both, would be ideal to
Yeah.
just put their selfishness aside and
Yeah.
say, what's the goal here?
Sure.
Is the goal for us to really love each other?
Yeah, yeah.
Or is it to be right or get my point across
Exactly,
or
yeah.
my personal preference be above all things?
That's right.
You know, no,
Yeah.
it should be love. Love
should
should
be love,
drive
yes.
the purpose of healing.
Exactly.
You know, more
Yeah.
than anything.
Yeah, and I think that's where, you know, again, love is a commitment. Love is
Yeah.
an action.
Right,
And that's
right.
where we can say, you know what, I'm going to put my pride aside.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't care. I heard someone say, I don't care about being right. I want to be successful. You know, I don't care about being right. I want my relationship and my marriage to be
yeah,
successful.
that's so
and so
good.
sometimes we have to put our pride aside and say,
Right.
you know what?
Yeah.
It's not important if I'm right.
Right.
It's not important. It's
Yeah.
not about that. It's about us being able to allow love to change our
Yeah.
lives
Oh,
and
yeah.
cause us to be better.
Yeah.
And those things happen all the time. What happened
Yes.
to you and Rebecca
Yeah.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it can make you better or
Mm-hmm.
it can make you bitter.
Yeah,
And you know, that's why love matters the most.
that's right.
And if
yeah.
you walk in love, then man, your life's going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, and it really is like the scripture says that, I think it's in 1 Corinthians 13 at the end of all the explanations about love.
Yeah.
And it says, you know, that like love endures all
Yes,
things.
exactly.
And it is really true. And that's why I love this whole grouping that we're doing of episodes, because really love does matter most.
Matters
When
the
it
most.
when it boils down to differences to hurts to healing to all of those things. It's like love has to be at the core of your relationships if you want them to thrive and be healthy and be the best that they can be.
That's right. Well, I mean, remember Jesus said that all the 635 laws of the Old Testament can be summarized in one thing.
Yes.
Love God, love your neighbor, and yourself.
Right.
And so, love is what's going to make you a great wife. Love is what's going to make you a great husband.
Right.
Love is what's going to make us great parents.
That's right.
Great parents.
Yes. Great parents.
So a great friend, without this component, everything is such a grind, and everything is so ego driven and pride driven, and that's why there's so many destructions in marriages because we don't really choose love.
Right.
We choose pride, we choose ego, we choose that, you know what, I know I'm wrong and I know what I'm doing is destroying my marriage, but you know what, I'm sorry. They have to change first.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah. And
come on.
And it is very true that, that pride and selfishness will do the opposite of healing and do the opposite of recovery. And I know I'm getting ahead of restoring. That's the next one. But
that's good. Love restores.
It pride does the opposite of those things. And that's why, like, I always try to, especially like when I'm getting into it with my husband, when it's about a difference. Okay, well, or if it's about, when there's an issue, I always get to the place, when we get to the place of healing, is because both of us have finally stopped to say, what's really motivating my heart right now?
That's right.
And if it's not love,
that's right.
I need to check myself.
Put it aside.
And love needs to motivate now so that we can move forward and heal. You can never move forward when pride is driving and selfishness is driving. It's when love drives. That is the sweet spot of any relationship, being able to thrive and heal and restore.
I just thought of a line when you were saying, because I like lines that rhyme.
Yes.
And so when love...
You used to always say, I'm a poet, and you didn't even know it. Well, what's the line before you forget?
Well, here's the line. When love drives, love thrives.
Ooh, I like that.
That's a fun, right?
Yes.
That's a fun one.
I love that. I love that.
But love elevates.
Yeah.
Love elevates the game. Love elevates people.
Yes.
Jesus tells a story of this woman that was caught in the act of adultery.
Yes.
Now, man, I can't think of anything
more shameful
than something like that.
Being caught.
But they caught her in the act. And they brought her to Jesus. And according to the law, they were supposed to, they had a right to stone her.
To death.
And kill her.
Right. Yeah.
And so they told Jesus, hey, what about this? And Jesus said, hey, he who doesn't have any sin, go ahead and throw the first stone. And that's a whole
and no
thing
one threw
there.
The stones.
There's a whole thing there. But when they all left, Jesus looked at the woman and says, woman, does anyone condemn you?
Yeah.
And she says, no. And he said, neither do I.
Yeah.
And he said, go and sin no more.
I love
and so he elevated her.
Yeah.
He automatically gave her respect back, gave her, her dignity back, showed her her value, because love elevates.
That's right.
It comes to restore. Yeah. And when it restores, it elevates you to your best place.
Yes.
Because you're saying, I know that you're better than this.
Right.
And I believe that.
Yeah. And I think that restoration because of love is such a beautiful thing. It's such a I don't think there's any perfect formula for it either, but it's just you can feel when there's been restoration. Even like I was saying, like with my husband, and you're like, when we're hashing it out sometimes and trying to get to the issue, sometimes I'll just try to be like, okay, fine, yeah, I'm good. And my husband, Serge, is like, I can tell you're not good. Don't tell me you're good, because I can feel that you're not good.
Right.
But then when you get to that place of restoration, it's like you can feel it.
Yeah.
You
Of
can
course.
sense it, and there's something that changes the dynamic between the relationship.
I mean, when you really think about it, at least for me, it's a spiritual experience.
It is. That's what I'm getting
It's
at.
a spiritual
Yeah.
experience because
Yeah.
it's not just body language.
it's deep, deep
it's
down.
not just the thought formula,
Yeah.
but it's a deeper thing
Oh, yeah.
that can be sensed in
Yes.
the atmosphere.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Of the home or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is a spiritual experience.
Yes.
When you
Yeah.
think about the depth of that,
Yeah.
how it affects the soul, the mind, the will, the emotions, and that's why love, again, we go back to the same thing. Love matters the most.
Right. Yeah.
Because the Bible says that God is love.
Right. Yeah.
So true love, again, is not an emotion. True love is not sex. True love is a commitment to act in a way motivated by benefiting the
Somebody
other
else,
person.
yeah.
That's real love.
Right. Yeah.
And so true love is it's a spiritual
Yeah.
expression.
It is.
And
It
it
is.
causes a spiritual change.
Yeah. It reminded me of something that actually happened this morning with Gracie at the house, talking about restoration and how you can feel when
Yeah.
the heart is restored.
Right.
So I'll try to make it short, but I was in my little desk in my room and I was working, and so Grace came over and she said, "Mommy, what's for breakfast?" And I said, "Well, today is cereal because I made eggs and toast yesterday.
Okay.
So today is cereal." And she's like, "Oh, I don't want cereal. Why do we have to have cereal?" And I'm like, "Grace, because yesterday I made," so I'm really trying to work with her on I'm not going to repeat the same thing just because you don't like the answer.
Right.
It was really hard. And so then she goes, "What about toast? Can I have toast? Can I have 1.5 pieces of toast?" And I'm like, "You can have 1 piece of toast because you can make that on your own, and you can have an apple.
Go for it.
But I'm not making you anything."
Right.
So she's like, "Okay." So she goes, and I hear her kind of making, doing some things, and all of a sudden I hear a shatter. Glass shattering. And I'm like, "What?" So I run out there and I'm like, "What happened?
What's happening here?"
So she's like, "I was trying to make my toast." And then, so she had taken this big glass jar of sugar.
Okay.
She wanted to make cinnamon sugar toast.
Okay.
Which
see.
I did not say
Right.
she could make, but I also did not say she couldn't make cinnamon
You have
and
to
sugar
spell
toast.
it all out. You have to spell it all out.
So she broke this. And this is it's so stupid, but I was so upset. But it was because I've been trying to get all my jars in my pantry to glass jars because it looks really nice. And I just like a few weeks ago at a garage sale found a great deal of all these glass
And you did it.
containers, and I did it.
You matched
I
it all.
had it, and they. So she broke the lid, and I was so upset, and I yelled at her. Not because of the toast, but because my jar was broken, and I was really upset.
Of course.
And I hurt her feelings so bad because I was like, I wasn't mean, didn't say anything mean to her, but I was like, "Grace,
Upset.
why can't you just have cereal?" Like that would have never happened.
Right.
So long story short, I had to go
Then
because the Lord told me
do some restoration
you
there.
didn't handle that right. And I told her, I said, "You know what, Gracie, I'm really sorry for yelling at you. I shouldn't have yelled at you.
Right.
It was, for me, it was about my jar.
Yeah.
And that wasn't what, I shouldn't have taken that on. Will you forgive me?" She was like, "Yes, Mommy." She's really sensitive.
Yeah, she is.
and but before I did that, she was like kind of giving me the cold shoulder.
Attitude.
Like seeing me but not seeing me. And as soon as I did that, I felt in her.
Right.
That, and I'm still upset about the jar.
Yeah.
But I said her condition of her heart
more important.
and how she feels.
Yeah.
It's more important than the jar.
Yeah, more.
And then
Way
Serge
more.
was even like, "What is that, $10?" And I was like, $20 jar. He was like, "Fine, $20. I'll buy you another one." But it's important to take that responsibility if it's on you.
Absolutely.
To bring restoration.
Sure. And I think that, obviously the old school used to be that parents never admitted that they were wrong.
Right, yeah.
And furthermore, they never said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because the old school would think, well, if I do that, my kids are not going to respect me.
I think I'm weak.
Yeah. And
Or that I make mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, the real truth is that if you make a mistake, you ought to accept responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's how you teach your kids
Yeah.
to accept responsibility.
Yeah.
The kids might not always do what we tell them, but they will always do what we
Yes.
do.
Yes.
You know,
Yes,
and
100%.
so we, you know, I know I had to learn the hard way to, you know, say I'm sorry to you guys when I messed up, you know,
Yeah.
and the level of respect goes up
Yeah.
because, you know, as a kid you start thinking, does this person doesn't know the difference between
Yeah.
right and wrong?
Right. 'Cause
So
they
why should I
know.
listen to
Yeah,
them?
no, they know.
But
know.
when they do, you go like, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyhow, but the last one is love releases.
Yes.
Because love doesn't hold a grudge.
That's good.
You know,
Yeah.
love doesn't bind people.
Yeah.
Love doesn't say, I know what you did,
Yeah.
and I'm
It's-
never gonna
Yeah, it
believe
says,
you again,
it
ever.
It says in Corinthians it keeps no record of wrongs.
Keeps no record of wrong. Exactly. So, you know,
hard
love
for me.
love releases the person because
Yeah.
love speaks freedom.
Yes.
And
yes,
love
yes.
is about setting each other free.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
because we all have things that are counterproductive. We all have things that can damage relationships.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the purpose of love is to set us free.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
to bring freedom into our lives. And so,
Yes.
you know, if you're struggling and you're thinking like this love thing is not working for me, you know, we're
Yeah.
too different, or you know, I don't like the way he treats me, or I don't like the way she treats me.
Yeah.
You know, realize that again, love is not an emotion, but love is an action, and it has a purpose.
That's
And
right.
the purpose
Yeah.
is to release us, to restore us, to refresh us, and to recover what
Yeah.
we've lost.
That's right.
So
That's right.
love matters the most. If you could concentrate on one thing in your relationship, whether it is with God and with other human beings,
Yeah.
concentrate on love,
Yes.
because love matters most.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyhow,
Yeah,
here we
definitely.
are at the drop,
Yes.
bringing truth and bringing life.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're doing both. We're dropping truth and bringing life. But
Yeah,
anyhow,
definitely.
I like what you do at the end. Tell
Yes.
people what they can do to
Yes.
help us out, spread
Yes,
the word.
I want to tell you, and before I want to tell you that, I want to remind you to, you know, remember that the first step with this love matters most is for you to receive the love of God
Yes.
in your heart and in your
good.
life, and to let God's love for you restore you, refresh you,
That's good.
release, recover.
Yeah.
Because if you do that first, you will be able to do that for others. But
That's
it's
right.
really hard to do that for other people if you don't experience that between you and God.
That's
you know,
right.
it makes it really hard.
Yeah.
So with that, also make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching us, and hit that bell so that when we post up these videos, you get those notifications.
Notification.
And
Yeah.
if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, chances are you're already following us, but make sure you're following so you also get those notifications.
Yeah.
And if you click on those 3 little dots up there, you can share this episode with a friend or a family member.
Yeah.
So do that too. It's so easy to do, and just spread the word, and also
Yeah.
to bless somebody's heart today.
People
So-
need to hear that powerful message of love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you can help us out
Yeah.
by getting the word out.
Definitely. So thanks for being here with us
All
today.
right, all
and
right.
we'll see you guys next Wednesday right here at The Drop.